Hello and welcome to the autoX show. Now sit tight because we've got a Porsche special on the show today. We bring you two of Stuttgart's finest, the brand new 911 and facelifted Macan SUV. Plus, we've got a face-off that's been brewing for the past couple of weeks as the Tata Harrier takes on the Jeep Compass. But first, Ishan spends a couple of days in the Black Forest in Germany with the brand new Porsche 911, the most anticipated sports car of 2019. And it's just been launched in the Indian market. Lucky sod.
That the Porsche 911 is one of the most recognizable sports cars in the world would be an understatement of epic proportions. It's a very unique product. It's a sports car that's still powered by an engine installed in the rear of the car. That's unique. Most other companies have never been able to make that successful, but Porsche is a cut above. And to be honest, the 911 has made Porsche the company that it is today. Everything that you see that Porsche sells today stems from this basic car. Its success for decades. They've been producing the 911 for over 50 years now in various generations of the car. That success has allowed Porsche to produce sports cars like the Carrera GT, the 959, the 928, the Cayenne, the Macan, you name it. And this is the basis of the company. And to be honest, I've been a huge fan of Porsche 911s for many, many years. Now, I might not be able to afford one, but what my job does give me an opportunity to do is to fly out to Germany, borrow a 992 911 from Porsche and drive around in the Black Forest region of Germany. So it's going to be a good couple of days for me here to drive one of my favorite sports cars in the world, the latest generation of which will get us to see what the car offers and why it is so special for customers and for the company. Like I said earlier, despite its various generations over the decades, the essentials of a Porsche 911 still remain the same. It's still a relatively small sports car. It's a 2+2, space in the rear though is quite tight. But the overarching feeling, the first reaction that you get when you sit in a Porsche 911, especially the 992s, is how fantastically put together it is. The panel gaps, the fittings, how different surfaces like the metal and the leather work together. The high resolution display is fantastic. It's quickly becoming one of the benchmarks. It's the same with the Cayenne, it's the same with the Macan, and even in the 911 it works fantastically. Touchscreen responds very well. And in fact, just the whole integration of the multimedia system with the rest of the car is fantastically well done. You get various choices. Of course, one of the biggest things about a 911 is about how customizable it is and how many different versions they have. What we're driving is the new 911 Carrera S. This is a 3-litre flat 6 twin turbo, 450 PS, about 443 horsepower, 550 Nm of torque. It's paired to, it's rear wheel drive only, this one. This is not the all-wheel drive version. And it's paired to an 8-speed PDK transmission, which works fantastically well. What I get, my first reaction when I started driving the 911 on the highways and in German autobahns around Stuttgart where we are in the Black Forest area, there are lots of stretches where you can really stretch your car. They're de-restricted, which means you can go as fast as your car, your driving skill and your conditions, road conditions permit. And I was easily doing above 200 kilometers an hour, and it's just fantastic. The engine response is what really gets to you first. It's twin turbocharged, it's a 3-litre, it's not a very big engine, but it just responds fantastically. And I think the integration of the turbochargers by the Porsche engineers is fantastic because there's no turbo lag, any gear, and it just starts flying. You can manually shift the gears too, you've got paddles, it works quite well. In fact, I've hardly needed to manually shift. What you also get now in the new version of the 911 is on the steering, you get a drive mode knob. This allows you to choose Sport, Sport Plus, Wet, racetrack mode. So different modes, different power deliveries, differently. The car responds differently. It's also got adaptive suspension. And on this car, on this particular version that we're driving, it's got 20-inch wheels at the front, 21-inch at the rear. So what I think I really like about the car is the quality, is how good the engine is, how fast the car is. The steering also has pretty good feel, so you can actually tell what's actually happening. And even though this is a pure sports car, I'm still getting a fuel efficiency level of about 8 kilometers per liter, despite all the high-spirited driving, despite fast driving in the Black Forest roads, which is pretty good because essentially the Porsche 911 is not that heavy. It's under 1500 kilos dry, and I think that makes a big difference. Couple of things that are going to be a bit of a problem though. One, at high speeds, and I mean really high speeds, you can feel what they talk about when they say the front of the 911 feels a little light, because most of the weight, the engine, the gearbox is all integrated in the rear. The front can be a little bit sort of moving around, and you have to slightly give it a bit of input, which is quite good because it keeps you hooked on to the driving. It means your concentration is on. But I mean, yeah, I think I've driven cars that's slightly more planted. That's one. Two, even on German roads, I found a few stretches which was in not so good condition. Yeah, it happens in Germany too, that's a surprise. In the 20 and 21 inch wheel combo, the car can feel quite stiff. So that in Indian conditions is going to be a problem. I love the seats though, I love the sound system, like I said earlier, the integration, just the whole fit and finish. And let's be honest, I've been a fan of the Porsche 911 all along, so I'm slightly biased here. But I have to say, Carrera S, this might just be, a level above the entry-level Porsche 911, but with the 450 odd horsepower it's going on, with 530 Nm of torque, with the throttle response, with the fantastic gearbox, I really don't see why you would need any more power. This is more than enough. It responds brilliantly. And with the turbocharging and the 530 Nm of torque, what really helps is that when you're trying to accelerate between speeds, that's a very important marker of how quick a car is, how responsive it is. So if you're doing, let's say, about 100 kilometers an hour, you press the throttle, you'll be hitting 200 before you know it. So that really makes a difference, because picking up speed and then dropping speed is fantastic. Under the brakes, Porsche feels absolutely fine. Thankfully, lucky I didn't get any rain, so I've not been able to experience how it is in the wet, but just the experience of driving on these fantastic Black Forest roads and driving on the fantastic German autobahns in a car that you've always loved. I mean, it's a dream come true. And I have to say, I'm struggling to find, or rather think of, better experiences that I've had over the years. Germany, a nice Porsche 911, the roads, sunny weather, there's not much you can ask for.
Right, now don't go anywhere, because when we come back, Ishan samples yet another Porsche. Welcome back to the autoX show. Now, while the Porsche 911 might be their most evocative sports car, it's the SUVs that rack up the numbers for Porsche. The Macan SUV is their best-selling model globally. It's just been facelifted and it's going to launch in India this July.
Success can often be a double-edged sword, as Porsche discovered after launching SUVs. When the first Cayenne came out, there was a lot of disquiet, a lot of discomfort among traditional Porsche purists about thinking that Porsche is going to produce an SUV. But such is the appeal of SUVs, the Cayenne quickly became the best-selling Porsche. But it again changed with the Macan, because Macan, when it launched, in the past 5 years, they've managed to sell over 400,000 units of the Macan, making it the biggest-selling Porsche, outselling even the Cayenne. So when it comes time to facelifting and updating the Macan, Porsche has a new challenge on its hands. Secondly, for the Indian market, the Macan never really picked up, primarily due to the pricing. But this time, Porsche India is willing to change that, is willing to completely rewrite the story. We are here in rather cold Germany, driving the new Macan and experiencing what the new car offers for Indian customers. The car that we're driving right now is the Macan S. That's the middle version. It's got a 3-litre V6 engine, and there are very subtle styling changes as far as the Macan is concerned, because since it's so successful, why do you want to mess with a successful formula? The front is a little different. The main changes here are the headlights. You get those 4 LED sign markers, you know, the daylight markers, and full LED headlamps. What I like more are the big wheels. These are 21s. In fact, it's got new 20 and 21 inch wheels. The range starts from 18 inches to 21 inches. I know these are not very practical for India, but given the look of the car, I think they look absolutely brilliant. Of course, you also get a lot of options, Porsche ceramic brakes. What is more interesting for me is these side panels. Now they are offered in 5 different versions, and against this Miami blue car, I think this black really stands out. It's a nice design detail that breaks up the side of the car. What I like about the rear, well, it's an interesting design. You can see the slightly, sort of sliding down silhouette, but what I really love is this single big tail light piece. It's divided into 3 parts. It's fully LED. And I love that whole unibrow style. It gives the car definition. It's quickly becoming a mark of Porsches worldwide, especially with this lettering here. And that for me is an outstanding thing as far as design is concerned. At its launch, which will happen soon in India, Macan will initially be offered with 2 engine options. The first engine is the base 2-litre 4-cylinder. We drove that earlier and it's been revised, it's been made more efficient, more powerful. It offers about 252 bhp, about 370 Nm of torque. 0 to 100 comes up in under 7 seconds. For normal usage, it's a pretty good engine. It's got decent amount of torque. The throttle response is very good. It's paired with a 7-speed dual clutch PDK transmission, and driving it around city, it was pretty good. It works really well. You never feel any shortage of power. Driving it on the highway also was pretty good. We got to drive it on the unrestricted stretches of Autobahn, which means you can go as fast as conditions permit, and doing 200 kilometers an hour even in the base 2-litre engine was no big problem. The real fun, of course, is the Macan S. It's got a brand new 3-litre V6. It's turbocharged. The turbocharger is fitted within the V of the engine. Now what that does is it reduces the turbo lag. It makes the engine respond faster, throttle response is faster. And I have to say that because it's a brand new engine, Porsche has been able to do a lot of work in it. It produces about 354 horsepower, 480 Nm of torque. 0 to 100 comes up in just 5.1 seconds. That's quick for an SUV. It's pretty quick, and the Macan in the S trim is just fantastic to drive. You also get this beautiful sports steering wheel. You can option it. It's got the knob with which you can switch the driving modes. It's got Alcantara, it's got aluminum, and the general fit and finish of the Macan, even in the base version, even in the S version, that's one of the best factors. It's just immaculate how the metal and leather and other surfaces like the carbon fiber in this car, how well they fit together, how little the panel gaps are, how everything is stitched together, how it feels to drive, to sort of shut the door, the leather quality, the standard Alcantara roof. It's really a quality item. That's something that Porsche has been known for a long time, and nothing in that changes with the Macan. The earlier one that didn't do very well in India was because of 2 factors. One primary thing is this is a small car. It's got a big transmission tunnel. So at best, it's a 4-seater. But for a lot of people, that is not a problem. The other problem was that in the initial pricing phases, the Macan was more expensive than the Cayenne in India, which of course doesn't fly with Indian customers. And it did. But what Porsche is trying to do with this car this time is completely change the game. According to Porsche India officials, the car is going to be launched, the base model, between 70 to 73 lakhs, which is a huge reduction, and I think it's a really good rationalization of where the Porsche Macan should be priced. And at that price, it's going to compete with the Audi Q5, with the BMW X3, with the Volvo XC60. It's a bit smaller than all of them, but what it's got is the badge and the driving appeal. With the overall quality, with the overall driving appeal, with how the Macan looks, especially with the new bright colors that they're offering, what happens is, I was talking to the project engineer yesterday, is that when you've sold 400,000 units, over 400,000 units of the car, you've got a lot of user feedback that you can use to refine the car when it comes to a facelift or a brand new model. And what they're seeing, especially in developing markets like China or India, is that people really want to express their style through their car. That's why you get a color like the Miami blue, you get a Mamba green, you get a Carmine red. And with this personalization, with the amount of personalization you can do inside, and one highlight also is the new display. This 10.9-inch unit is pretty much similar to what is now fitted to the Cayenne and Panamera. This is slightly smaller, but it's full high resolution, the display resolution, the map resolution. You can even see, in Germany at least, you can see where the forests are very clearly. You can see the sea, you can see what's around you, what's in surroundings. It looks absolutely gorgeous. The touchscreen is very easy to use, and it's a phenomenal upgrade. They've had to change the whole dashboard because of it. The air vents are now placed differently, but I think it's a worthy upgrade. So as far as India is concerned, it might be a little bit on the small side, but it's a Porsche. It's fun to drive, and it's going to be rationally priced now. And I think for a lot of customers, that's going to be a great deal. And if I had the money, I would really look at buying a Macan, maybe a Macan S, because they're really fantastic cars to drive. They're built to last forever, and it's a product to savor.
Right, now don't go anywhere because we've got an SUV showdown coming right up. Welcome back to the AutoX show. Now the Tata Harrier has made quite the impression in the Indian market. It is, after all, based on a Land Rover platform. But what happens when it takes on some world-class competition? Here's the Tata Harrier versus the Jeep Compass.
Today we have with us the Jeep Compass and the Tata Harrier. Now you may wonder how the 16.25 lakh rupee front wheel driven Harrier compares with the all-wheel drive Jeep Compass that costs about 23 lakhs. Now the pricing is one of the many aspects that set the two apart. But there are as many things that bring them together. To start with, both cars are based on the same engine, a 2-litre Fiat Source diesel that comes paired with a 6-speed manual transmission. And more importantly, both cars have very strong underpinnings. So we're going to spend some time with both these cars and try to answer a few questions. First, what do you get for the additional price you pay for the Compass? Second, is the Harrier a better value for money offering? And more importantly, which of these two cars should you put your money on? That's a lot of questions to be answered, so let's get on with it. In terms of design, both these SUVs have very unique and independent personalities. The Compass has an old-school muscular feel to it. From the vertically stacked grille, square-off wheel arches, to the overall silhouette, everything screams Jeep here. Despite being a few years old, the Compass's clean lines still have the same pleasing charm that it first did. The Tata Harrier, on the other hand, is a perfect example of a modern-day SUV. It has sharp lines all across, sleek LED DRLs up front, and an edgy tail section. Both cars look good in their own right. It's almost like comparing Thor's slender body with the Hulk's bulk. If it's size you seek, the Harrier is undoubtedly the one for you. Speaking of which, the Harrier is longer, wider, and taller. At 2741 mm, it has a wheelbase that is 105 mm longer. The larger dimensions do result in more space in the cabin. The Compass by no means feels constricted, but unlike the Harrier, space is not in abundance either. Moving on to the front, the Harrier seats have superb side bolstering, but somewhat lack in the under-thigh support. The Compass is quite the opposite, with a longer seat base and just about adequate support for the torso. On the inside, the Harrier definitely feels a lot more new age than the Compass. A lot of it has to do with the layout of the dash. There's this large touchscreen in the center and 4 wood finish that gives the cabin a premium feel. Quality overall is a lot better than what we have seen from Tata before, but there are a few bits of hard plastics on the steering wheel and the door panels that could have been better. The Compass, although a bit conservative in terms of design, feels a lot better put together than the Harrier. There are these soft touch materials on the dashboard and on the door panels that make it look superior. The touchscreen infotainment unit is a little too busy and complicated to operate, especially on the fly. While in the presence and space departments, the Harrier may surge ahead, the Compass covers up some ground in terms of features. Both cars come with 6 airbags, ABS, EBD, stability control, hill hold, traction control and more. The Compass does get better equipment like electronic parking brake, electrically adjusted driver seat, sunroof, automatic headlamps, navigation and more. The Jeep surprisingly misses out on cruise control, something that the Harrier comes with.
Both cars may have the same engine, but they're a lot different in the way they perform. The Harrier makes just about 138 horsepower and is the heavier car of the two, and it really shows in the way it accelerates, especially out on the highway when you want to make overtaking maneuvers.
While the engine does gain speed reasonably well and can even hold 120 with ease, it is at higher speeds that you will really feel its weight and relatively low power. Overtaking needs a bit of planning and in some cases even a downshift. That sense of urgency is missing in the way the engine performs.
What the Harrier lacks in terms of performance, it more than makes it up in terms of ease of driving, thanks to the lighter clutch action of the car. The Compass is not just lighter, but it's the more powerful car of the two. Now thanks to that, not only does it accelerate a lot more faster, it makes overtaking on the highways that much easier.
It definitely feels more spirited and eager. Although it makes the same amount of torque as the Harrier, it kicks in snappishly, something that will take a little getting used to. The biggest concerns, however, is the heavy clutch. The Compass won't be the most relaxed car to drive in bumper-to-bumper traffic. The equation really sways in favor of the Compass in the handling department. The suspension is much better tuned to take on hilly roads. Body roll is superbly controlled and the steering is perfectly well calibrated. It feels direct and weighs marginally on the heavier side, just the way we like it. Set up on the stiffer side, the Jeep does throw the passengers around over bad roads, but that's a compromise you willingly make for better high-speed stability and a more confident drive. The Harrier doesn't feel as planted and poised around the bends. In comparison to the Jeep, the suspension is set up softer. Lateral movement steals a lot of the poise and the drive isn't the most assertive over switchbacks either. The steering feels way too light and disconnected to inspire confidence. The Tata does, however, ride a lot better over bad roads. It absorbs most of the potholes without a fret. One of our biggest grouses with the Harrier is the poor visibility from behind the wheel. The ORVMs are way too large and can easily block a motorcyclist or a pedestrian from your sight. The tall backside of the car limits the view from the IRVM too.
The Tata is a much bigger car. It not only has more presence, but also has more space on the inside. It even drives a lot better over broken roads. It does, however, lack in terms of finesse, not just from the engine, but also from the touch and feel of things. But there's no denying that it is a great value for money proposition. There's a stark difference in the price of the Harrier and the Compass. For all the money you pay, you get better equipment in the Compass. It has electric seats for the driver, a sunroof, and more importantly, all-wheel drive system. The Compass even pips the Harrier in terms of driving dynamics. So finally, the Compass gets the right combination of quality, features, driving dynamics, and brand image. And for that, the Compass is the winner of this comparison.
Well, that's all the time we have for you today. Thank you for joining us. Remember to follow us on social media for your daily dose of all things automotive. And remember, it's chaos out there, so always buckle up and wear your helmets. We'll see you again next weekend on the autoX Show.